Today we are introducing the new features that will be coming out in the new release as of tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday, May 27th. Our latest release is going to be release 8.15, build 0.1. So we're going to start with a new feature we put in called the Tag Manager. Under Operations, you'll see that it's the second one in the list. The Tag Manager is used in other software programs that you'll find out there. And a tag is just a way of adding a name or a tag, as it were, to certain accounts within the system as a way of linking those different accounts together. So to give the example here, the Tag Manager was designed to link groups, corporate accounts, and wholesale accounts. And the idea originated from the idea that you may have a company that sends you group business, sends you corporate business. Maybe they have an FIT block within wholesaler. There's not one report that we could run for that one company across the three areas, or across even two of the areas. So the initial idea of the Tag Manager was, how do we tag across these three different areas? Thus, the Tag Manager was born. I'll show you a couple of other ways that we can use it as well throughout the training. So I'm going to go into Operations, Tag Manager. When you first come into Tag Manager, obviously you're going to have no tags available. So I'm going to add my first tag in. And the tag name I'm going to put in is JTB International. And this is a company that we work with. I'm going to click Post. So now that I have the tag and I want to attach it to either a corporate, a group, or a wholesale. So I'm going to go to my Corporate tab. On the Corporate tab, you're going to see all active corporate. So any corporate that is inactive will not show up in this list. They will show alphabetically as well. That seemed to make the most sense. So I'm going to scroll down till I get to my J's, and here I have the company JTB Corporate. I'm going to click the little green arrow in the middle, bring it over to the left-hand side. We now attach the JTB Corporate to JTB International. I'm going to jump over groups for a moment, only because the groups works a little bit differently, and the wholesale one is very similar to the corporate one. So I'm going to jump to wholesalers. And again, here, only active wholesalers will show, and here I have JTB FIT. Click the little green arrow, click Post. We've now attached the tag to JTB FIT in the wholesale area. And the last one is groups. Now, under groups, you'll notice that we have a date, and the date is automatically going to default to today's date and 1 year out from today. So right now, it's only showing me future groups. The reports I'm going to show you, the tags are tied to two reports, one in forecast mode and one in statistics mode going back. So the nice thing is we can actually, well, as soon as you get the release tomorrow, you can go back as far as you want and attach these tags to past groups, and the statistical reports will still work to filter by these tags. So you can go back 2-3 years if you want to and find those. But for now, I'm just going to looking forward here. So I'm going to go back to today's date. From today to today, we have one group with JTB, Zeke, Crystal. We're going to click on the group and bring it over. And click Post. Now the second way, instead of using dates, if I click on Search, notice that the dates gray out. Okay, so now if I type in the first few letters, JTB, and click Search, RuneKey will search all dates and find any other group under JTB. Now I only happen to have one, so let me type in another name that I know will work a little bit better. So if I put in Talk in here and click Search, here I'm seeing all past talk groups and all future talk groups as well. Okay, so no matter what date range. Now, if you misspell the first few characters, obviously it's not going to show up. So you want to have those first few characters correct when you're doing the search. Okay, so now that I've attached JTB, the tag JTB International to the 3 separate areas, corporate, groups, wholesale, I'm going to close out of here. And the report that now affects, if I go into reports, statistics, occupancy and revenue, actual, transient versus group. This one report already includes columns for corporate bookings, columns for wholesale bookings, and columns for group bookings. Thus, it made the most sense to add the tag as a filter to this report. So this report came out, I believe, 2 versions ago or 3 versions ago. So when I run the report, if I run it for past dates, and the tag filter set as no tags, that will just be overall. So the report as it stands now. If I click on the drop down and go to JTB International, we see our tag here. Now I'm only going to see the corporate bookings, the wholesale bookings, and the group bookings with JTB International from those dates. I would click OK. The report, you'll always get this warning that may take a little bit longer when you run it for an entire year. And it will run a little bit slower here as well because I am connecting to the server in Vancouver. I'm actually in Nova Scotia, Canada, so a long ways to go to do a direct connect to our server. So here we see when we run the occupancy and revenue actual, transient versus group report, we see the tag JTB at the top. So this is only going to be JTB stuff. Now here obviously I did nothing with JTB in the past, but I did set it up for the future. So let me show you the other report. Under reports, forecast, occupancy and revenue forecast, transient versus group. Okay, I'm going to run this for the month of June. Okay, so again, running it with no tags will show all reservations and group block and wholesale block. In this case, I'm going to use my JTB. So now I'm only going to see JTB's stuff for the month of June. Bookings for the month of June, I should say. Okay, so on this report, we have the tool for JTB. Under the transient column, you'll notice that we added in brackets, corporate. So this is where you will find any corporate bookings for company, under group for JTB, and then under wholesale for JTB. And the grand closing at the bottom. Okay, so really you want to think of the tag as a way of filtering down just to that particular company. So I'm going to show you a couple of the other examples of how we could use the tag. So if I go into Operations Tag Manager, the other way we can use this is, let's say we have a company that sends us a lot of different groups. Right now we can run a report on each separate group and add them together to get the overall production for that company. But the nice thing for the tag here is, if I add in a tag called Talk World Discovery, click Post, and then if I go to my Groups tab, I'm going to look at my search, go into Group Name, type in Talk, click Search. And again, this is from all dates past, present, and future. I'm going to attach all the Talk World Discovery groups I have in the system. So for this, instead of using it across 3 areas, I can just use it for 1 area, but several groups within that area. So now when I run that report, I'm going to get just the groups with Talk World Discovery. Another common way we would see this done, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in a tag, U of C, and click Post. And here under the corporate area, under U of C, University of Calgary, I have the Biology Department, Business Department, and Mathematics Department. They all have separate corporate accounts because we want to track each one individually. But now I can add the 3 to this tag so I can get an overall total for the 3 departments at the university. Another common thing we see, I'm going to create a tag, All's Well, as my company. And if I go to the corporate area, I have 2 All's Well corporate accounts. One is for when we have individual bookings, so individual pay, and one is set up for direct bill for the managers and whatnot. So again, we're putting just 2 corporate accounts. We can use as for something as simple as this. Okay, the other way that we could do this, I'm going to close out of the tag manager area. I'm going to go into operations, groups, and here I have the Green Miller Wedding. We're going to open the group. Okay, and if I go to the contact and billing page, we have the tag here. So not only can you go to the tag and a tag manager and attach it to groups, you can go to a group and attach the tag, and both will work the same. So from here, if I click on the drop down, I have all the existing tags, but let's say I want to create a new tag. So I can click the little binoculars. That brings me a shortcut into the tag manager. We're going to add a new tag, and I'm going to add a new tag called weddings. So this is not a particular company that we're doing the tag with. We want to know all the groups that are wedding groups. So I'll click Post. I'm going to close out a tag manager. When I come back to the group, we see that the tag is attached to the group. I'm going to click Post. I'm going to close out of the group area. And you'll even see on the group master screen, we've added the tag name column, so you know if a group has been tagged. Not every group needs to be tagged either, right? Only the groups that you want to use tagging on. I'm going to close out of here. Now if I go back into Operations, Tag Manager, indeed we can see the wedding one that we just created. If I go to Groups, we're going to see that the Green Miller Wedding is attached. And even from here I can say, oops, I missed a wedding, and now I can attach that as well. Okay, and this is available. I go into Operations Corporate. Modify, you'll see we have the Tag Manager down here. Click on the drop down. Again, click the little binoculars to do the shortcut. And within the wholesale model, if I go to Operations Wholesaler, we will see the field as well for the tag. So again, modifying, click on the drop down, you can choose an existing, click the binoculars to create a new one. Okay, now we do have a permission. If I go into System Configuration, Clerks, if I go to Permissions, under the Operations menu, down at the bottom, we have the new permission 2080 here. So we're going to take away 2080. Whenever you change someone's permission, you do need to log out and log back in before that becomes available. So bear with me for a second. Your screen is going to go back to the meeting screen just for a moment while I log back in. Okay, so we'll go back to sharing the screen again as soon as this logs in. Okay, so now that I've logged back in under that clerk, if I go into operations, you'll see that Tag Manager is now grayed out. They cannot go in and add any new tags. However, if I go to operations corporate, if they have access to the corporate area still, they can modify a corporate and they can attach an existing tag to a corporate, but you'll notice the little binoculars to create a new tag is grayed out. So again, they don't have access to the Tag Manager, but they can attach it if they have access to corporate, wholesale, or group. Okay, so at this point, the tag filter is only going to be on the two reports, occupancy and revenue actual, transient process group, and forecast, occupancy and revenue forecast, transient process group. These are the only two reports right now that include all three, so it made the most sense to start with these. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next one, and our next one is housekeeping. So under housekeeping, we did two changes in there. First off, I'm going to go to operations. We're going to go to housekeeping, shortcut key being F9. And the first thing we did, in our last release, we did modify some of the layout of this screen. We added the room status, the activity, the end-of-day projections, just to give more information for the housekeeping module. And we did change around some of the buttons. We did change this again, not a very big change, but what we've done is the actions in the current are up top and the filters are down below. We've switched those. And the reason we switched those is some of these actions, the final step in completing the action is to click the post, whereas the filters don't have anything to do with the post and cancel. So it made more sense to move the actions down further towards the post and cancel. So small change, but something your eyes will have to adjust to find where we moved actions to. But the big change we made here, I'm going to go to occupied to dirty, because I'm not sure I clicked that yet today. And then I'm going to use my filter to say, show me all dirty rooms. Now currently, to assign room attendants, we can click on the drop down and choose Bill or Tom, the existing ones, or we can write in a person and continue to do it one by one. So the change that we made for this area again, I'm going to filter down to all dirty. So here's all the rooms I want to assign. So we added the multi-select feature. Now the multi-select is the same that you would find in Microsoft Word, Excel, most programs out there where a multi-select would exist. So the multi-select is basically you click on the first number or first line that you want in the grouping, and if you use your Shift key, hold down the Shift key, and let's say I go down to room 111 and click on 111, notice it selects all rooms in between. And at that point, when I do the multi-select, you'll notice that everything grays out except for assign attendant. So this new multi-select feature is only for the assigning of the attendant at this point. You will see down the road we'll add the multi-select to some other features within housekeeping, but at this point it's just used for assigning attendant. I would click on assign attendant, and now we have the room attendant drop down. Click on the drop down, we have Bill and Tom. I'm going to choose Bill. Bill gets assigned to all those rooms, and I click post. And after clicking post, most likely, I would then go up to my filters, all by room attendant, bill, and I would print out Bill's report for him. Now, the second way we can use the multi-select is using the control key. So again, just like any Microsoft products out there, when you hold down the control key and click, it doesn't select the rooms in between. So it's a way of jumping rooms to assign. And again, I go to assign attendant, choose Tom, click post. And then one more way to use this so here if I go to all 30 again, and I'm going to select, if I go to the assign attendant, and let's say I have Sarah, but she doesn't exist in here. If I type the letter S, notice over on the grid here, the S already fills in, and as I'm typing, the name is filling in on the grid next to those rooms. So whatever you type in, and then as soon as you're done typing in the name, you click post, and that does a few things. It saves Sarah's name in there. It assigns her to the selection you made, and also up under this filter, if I go to all room attendant, it saves Sarah in here, so I can go right to printing out Sarah's report. Okay, now all the other features with room attendant that we had before, assigning room attendant to a section, remove room attendant, that still all works with the room attendant at this point. Okay? Okay, so that is the housekeeping layout change and the multi-select function. And just so you guys know, tomorrow we will be sending out the release notes, and you will find the release notes on our website as well, and it will give a step-by-step with screenshots on how to do each of these functions as well. Okay, so next we are going to look at a change we made to Wholesaler. So under System Configuration, Property, take just a moment to load here. Under our property permissions, under the operations menu, there is the permission 2060, track sales managers for corporate/wholesale accounts. Now, this actually came out in our last release, but it was only available for corporate accounts at that time. So you'll now see that the permission includes wholesale accounts. By default, this will not automatically be given to the property. It's going to be over on the available side. So if you are interested in this feature, you would have to go into this property permission, go to operations, and give that to the property. That will give it to everyone with the property, so you only need to do it on the one computer. So once you have that permission, what that adds is to the clerks area. If I go into System Configuration, Clerks, and here's all my clerks here. I have Rachel Miles here. I'm going to modify, and here we have is Sales Manager. I'll make QWERTY a Sales Manager as well. So this box will only show up when you have that permission, so you're using that function. Okay, now that filter works in two areas. So I'm just going to reiterate what we added in our last release, which is under Operations Corporate. This is where you can go to a particular company, modify, and you can now attach that sales manager to that company. Okay, and for this release, the part that we added was under Operations Wholesaler. You can now go to an account, say JTB here. We're going to modify. And again, we have the sales manager drop down. When you click on the drop down, only those clerks that are ticked as sales managers will show up. So we'll say that QWERTY does JTB and Gulf Canada's West as their accounts. Okay, so now the report that this affects, if I go into reports, again from our last release, we had reports, statistics, corporate statistics. And for the corporate statistics by date range, we have the summary total where we can just run it as an overall report. We have the sales manager commission sheet. And what that does is it puts each sales manager on their own page with all their companies listed and their total for the period that you choose. So most likely we'd be looking at last month, how overall, how did our sales agents do? You can also go to a specific sales manager and choose that sales manager and run it for a period just to see what they've done. Now I'm going to warn you, with the sales manager commission sheet, when you run this for, say, the past month, the first clerk that shows up, the first sales manager that shows up is no sales manager. So up here is where we put the name of that sales manager. So nothing shows up there. We've gotten that, and sorry, I don't have any production in my fake hotel, but just know that the first one always shows as blank. That's any company that is not assigned to a sales manager. Those would still show up, and then you would go to the next page. It would have all of Rachel's, then the next one would have all of QWERTY's and so on. Okay, so we actually had to make two changes for the wholesale. So if I go to report statistics, these wholesale statistics reports actually did not exist at all. So the first change we had to do was to add both the wholesale statistics by date range, and this is the exact same format as the corporate statistics by date range, again using the filter summary total, sales manager commissions sheet, and the sales manager drop down, where you can look at a specific sales manager and see what their production is for all their companies over past dates. So then going to the other report, because we were in the process of adding this wholesale report, we went ahead and added the wholesale statistics comparison. And again, this is exactly the same as the corporate statistics comparison, of course, using wholesale accounts instead. The filter is not available on the comparison report. The comparison is the overall health of the company. And again, sorry, I don't have any anything for my companies in my fake hotel at this time. Okay, so that was another addition that we made for wholesale, was giving a couple more wholesaler reports under statistics. Okay, next we are going to go to the inventory calendar. Small change we made to the inventory calendar. If I go into operations, inventory calendar, up in the upper left-hand corner, we can view a 2-week view or a month view. And then if I go to the print, and let me just minimize this, make sure you guys are seeing here. So I can print the report. And if you go up top and click the Save, the only thing we can save this as is either a quick report format or a comma separated. What we've done is instead of saving as this comma separated here, if you close the report, you're going to ask, do you wish to create a CSV file? This is the one that we put in. It's a cleaner report for CSV. CSV is comma separated value. For those of you who don't know, it just allows you to open it up in other programs like Excel or a Word doc. Most likely Excel you would open up so you can do some manipulation of the data. Okay, so small feature, but perhaps big impact to be able to CSV that. Next is our change that we made to our online booking engine. So I'm just going to bring up our booking engine. You guys are going to go back to the meeting screen momentarily. And I'm going to bring up the booking widget. And again, I'll share my screen here with you. Okay, so the change we made here is we are a Canadian company. We have a lot of properties in the US. We have a lot of companies in Australia, UK, and the date format that we used to have on here actually used to be the month, day, year, which could be very confusing depending on who's making the booking. Because some people are used to month, day, year. Some people are used to day, month, year. So it can be very confusing when just looking at the numbers. So what we decided was the format that we're going to use is actually including the 3-digit of the month that they're making the booking for. Just made a lot more sense to do it this way. We also made a slight change here. Previously, when they clicked on the drop-down to make a booking, all we had was the arrow to move forward month by month. We actually did change it so they can click on the drop-down and they can jump to a different month or jump to a different year as well. Okay, so again, slight change, but this made a lot of sense to go to the 3-character name. Depending on where the person is from, it's going to make more sense to them. Okay, the last thing we're going to show you today is back in Roomkey. So again, you're going to go back to the meeting screen momentarily. And okay, so back in Roomkey, there was 2 reports that existed, and the reports were under Reports, Statistics. Down at the bottom, we had a market segmentation report. We also have the report under Forecast, the market segmentation report. We've actually removed this report from Roomkey overall. There were some limitations of what we could do with the report within Roomkey. We're also having difficulty with it exporting properly into a CSV and Excel format, and there was more information that we want to include. What the market, if you haven't seen the market segmentation report, it basically reported on the market segment. So if I go into System Configuration Rate Wizard, I'm going to go to my best available rate here and edit. It's based off of the market segments that you have attached to your rate plans. And these are created in their own area under market segments. So the report is based on that. Basically, the market segment looks at the The report looks at the reservation, looks at the rate that's attached to the reservation, then looks at the market segment attached to that reservation. Now this error message that I'm getting here, you guys won't be getting this error message tomorrow. This is kind of the beta version that's out today, so by tomorrow this will not exist anymore. Let's close out of there. Close out here. And where we've moved the report is into our business insights. Now, most of you hopefully have access to business insights. If you do not have access to BI, definitely reach out to us and we'll go through the steps of getting BI set up for you. So BI is our separate portal for reporting. There we go. Okay, so you guys should be seeing the Room Key Insight BI here. Okay, so if I go to our revenue reports, you'll see here we've added the total revenue by market segment beta. And actually this is available, we turned this on I think probably a week ago. It's been available in BI. I'm going to run this report. We'll run it just for May 1 to May 26. Okay, so what this is going to show is each day, it's then going to show me my market segments, and then we have this undefined here. Undefined. Okay, we obviously have a spelling mistake that we need to correct in there as well. Undefined. Yeah. So we'll fix that as well. Basically, undefined is if you were to use a manual rate on a reservation, obviously there is no market segment attached to a manual rate. As well, if you have a rate plan that does not have a market segment, again, that would show as undefined. So whenever possible, you know, for your properties that do care about market segmentation, you want to make sure you have market segments attached to every rate plan. And whenever possible, you want to avoid manual rate. Manual rate is always one of those tricky ones to report on. You have to do a little bit more digging to find out the information that you're looking for when manual rates are used. With that being said, if we look at the report here, we basically give, in the upper left-hand corner, the orange number is the room nights, and the other figure is our revenue figure. Now, my numbers look weird. Obviously, I shouldn't be having 9 room nights with 0 rate. That's a lot of complimentary rooms under leisure even. So I did some test data down here that makes a little bit more sense. So on May 18th, under leisure, we had 1 room with $100 revenue. Now, the nice thing here is if you click on the revenue, actually will show you the res ID and the rate that was on that reservation, and we're counting it as a room occupied. So if you ever look at a day that looks weird and you want to see, well, why, you know, for instance, this one here, I have a -5. What's going on with that? If I click on, I can see the -5 is coming from reservation 2232. We can also see that next to it, the room occupancy, there's an X. We're not counting this as a room night. So I'm not going to go into Room Key and show you this, but what I can tell you is 2232 was actually a guest who checked out 2 weeks ago. This was an adjustment we've done after the guest checked out. So we're not going to count the room night. There is an adjustment made to room revenue on that day that will affect my report. Same thing with May 19th, another good example. We can see the rate of $95. If I click on the 95, we can see res ID 2236. This was the room that was actually occupied for today. at a rate of $100. So we count the room occupied, that gives us the 1. And then Res ID 228, again, we have another adjustment, negative $5 from another reservation that checked out. I believe it was May 11th on this reservation that checked out. Okay, but it definitely does affect the revenue. So the report that we had in RoomKey would give you the room nights per day, but it would not give you the revenue per day per market segment. We only gave an overall revenue for that market segment, which you still get on this report. So down at the bottom, I get my total revenue of $16.90 for that whole period. But you know, we had a lot of comments, people telling us we want to see the revenue per day, which only makes sense. And we're also able to add ADR on this report, overall and per day, over on the right-hand side, which we did not have in the other report. And again, the issues we were having with sending this to a CSV or Excel format, it's now much better to do the CSV and Excel format for this particular report over in the BI side. Okay, the one last report, or sorry, the one last change that we made in BI, for those of you who are using it, for all the revenue reports, we've made a change to the dates that you can select. What was happening is we were getting a lot of timeouts for longer length of time that the report was run for. So what you're going to notice is at this point, the BI reports, revenue reports, can only be run for a 2-month period at a time. It won't allow you to go further than that. We're getting a lot of timeouts and it wasn't pulling the data, or you would run it for a 5-month period and would only return 2 months worth of data. So at this point, it's a 2-month period that you can run the reports for. Okay, and at this point, we are done the webinar on the introduction to the items. Now, in the release notes, you're also going to find some new integrations that we have. You're also going to find some tweaks and defects, so smaller support issues or bug fixes, as we would call them. You'll find those in the release documentation that will be going out. I'm going to head over to the question area, and I'm going to see if there's any that I can answer easily on the webinar. Certainly, if you have any questions related to what you've seen for the release, you can type that in now. And let's see. Let's see, revenue. Is there a report that isolates the revenue associated with the group block rooms not picked up? Room occupancy and revenue forecast shows the rooms separately, but not the revenue. Okay, so we have a question. It's BI stands for Business Insights. That's a quick answer. So let me jump over to RoomKey for a moment. And I'm going to go into Operations Group Master. We're going to go into Reports in here. And I'm going to go to the GRC, the Group Rooms Control. I'm going to run this for June. And this question, not really to do with the release, but kind of revolved around the report. So just the question was, is there any report that isolates the revenue associated with group block rooms not picked up? Room occupancy and revenue forecast shows you those rooms separately. So the report shows, okay, I have 20 rooms in block, 5 are picked up, 15 still in block, and it gives you the overall revenue, but it doesn't give the revenue of the 5 rooms picked up versus the 15 rooms still in block. So the GRC here, the group room control, that does give it. I don't think I have an example where I can show you because I have no pickup on the report, but you can see here the line is there. So here would have block, the revenue attributed to that, and then picked up the revenue attributed to that. So that would most likely be the report you were looking there for, Keith. Take a look and let me know if yeah, or send it to support if you're looking, but I think that's probably going to do what you're looking for there. Yeah, and I had a question about BI, of how to gain access to BI. Reaching out to support, what I would ask if you guys can send an email to support@roomkeypms.com, just asking about BI would be the best way. And then they'll get back to you because it may have to go over to another department of who would be turning that on. So I would just ask you to send an email to support@roomkeypms.com if you're interested in getting the BI turned on. And there's other reports in there. There's a PACE report in there, which is great. We're doing work on. There's a production report breaking down based on clerk and how many bookings they've done, which does exist in RoomKey as well, but we've actually beefed it up a little bit more of what you can get from the report in BI. The reporting structure that we have within the programming model that we use for RoomKey, unfortunately, is a little bit limited for the reporting that we want to provide you. So that's why you see us turning to BI, Business Insights. The template and the format is so much better of what we can get out of the data. So that's why you see our reports going into BI. So the clerk report in BI is under the production area. If you have access, so someone asks, where is the clerk report that I just mentioned? The one report within, if you go to reports, I go to occupancy, reservations by operations property dashboard. And if you go to, I don't know if I have any examples yesterday. Oh, I have one. Future reservation created, click on the drop down. This will show a reservation I made, and if I click print, it will show who made it, RSI admin. And then in the BI side, the beefed up report is under, it's under the daily operations, revenue, oh sorry, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? There we go. So on BI side, under daily operations beta is reservation productivity report. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the questions here, which has disappeared off my screen, interestingly enough. Hopefully I didn't close that. Where did you go? Questions. For any of you who don't have any questions, you can feel free to dismiss yourself, and thank you very much for attending the webinar. Hopefully it gave you a good insight to what we're releasing tomorrow. And again, look at the release notes that are coming out. Gives a step-by-step on that. There we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ooh, I got a thank you. You made my day. I like that. I like making people's day. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I still have 14 people left. Unfortunately, I can't tell if people are typing in questions, so I'm going to hang tight for a little bit. I'm actually going to stop